If you're thinking about moving to Crestview, you need to know the pros and the cons. So in today's video, we're going to go over the top 6. We've narrowed this one down for you guys so that you guys can make a decision on whether Crestview is the right place for you.
So for this video, since you guys seem to really enjoy our team pros and cons, we're going to continue with that theme in this video. Also, it's just kind of fun for us, and both of us are feeling kind of sick today. So in order to keep our energy up, we're like, we need to do a fun video.
So it's really more for us than it is for you guys, but we appreciate you joining along.
It makes it all the more better that you guys are actually watching as we are struggling to keep our eyes open and our lungs within our chest. So, pros. I'm going to be Team Pro Crestview and Mongo here.
I'm going to tear Crestview down. You guys aren't going to want to live anywhere near Crestview by the end of this video.
Are you serious?
All right, well, let's get into it. So our top pro, and probably the biggest pro, is going to be the price point of Crestview. So it really is. In our area here on the Emerald Coast, Crestview is going to be where you get the biggest bang for your buck. Just within the past 90-day period.
I'm just waiting for my con. Keep going.
Why are you looking at me like this? So you can get a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, about 1,800 square foot house for $320,000. You're not going to get that anywhere else in our area, really. We've tried. I'm actually looking for some buyers right now that have a lower price point, but I'm showing them stuff, up to that point as well. And we can't find anything. When we compare what you get for $320,000 in Crestview to, say, Fort Walton Beach, it's night and day. You can get a brand new build in Crestview for that amount, and something that's dilapidated and even a flipper doesn't want to touch it in Fort Walton Beach. So, bang for your buck. Crestview Pro. Come on.
Well, which works out very well, because the biggest con of Crestview, and the reason why it's in number 1, because it is the biggest con, is the lack of stuff to do. So Crestview is up and coming. They're starting to get, actually not even starting. They've definitely done a lot better over the last 5 years. But compared to the other areas in our area, you're just not going to have as much stuff to do. There's no mall there, which nobody's going to a mall anyway, so it's kind of a bad example. But the shopping is very limited. The restaurants are limited, although they do have some good ones up there for sure. But you're definitely going to need to leave the city from time to time for more of the specialized stuff. If you're looking for something a little bit more specific, or you want to go to the outlets or something, you are going to have to travel there. Now, luckily, Crestview is not that far from everything. And I know I'm supposed to be Team Con here, but Crestview has one attraction that we can't ignore: the zoo. The Crestview Zoo is actually pretty dang good. I don't know which one's better between that one and the Gulf Breeze Zoo. It's kind of neck and neck. Very good zoo. So you guys have a zoo.
We do. We have a zoo. You're right. We also have some other great incentives, which brings us to the second pro. And it kind of falls in line with the price point. But as far as new builds are concerned, I know we touched on this just a second ago, but the incentives for the new builds in Crestview are incredible compared to the new builds in different areas. So when we look at new builds in Navarre, Gulf Breeze, those areas, we're not really seeing great incentives. They're good. The seller will pay $5,000 to $10,000 of your closing costs, sometimes all of them if you use their lender. And there might be a bonus attached for your agent maybe. But in Crestview, they're doing $1 move-ins, and they're paying all your closing costs, and they have great interest rates. It's something else entirely. Now, a lot of this is going to be D.R. Horton specific. D.R. Horton, they've done a vertical marketing deal where they own the building, they own the title company, they own the insurance company, they own the lender. So all of this means they're getting funds from every single bit of it, so they're able to provide that many more discounts. So their incentives are really great. Then you have another builder out there, Lennar, and they're just now kind of starting to make a name for themselves in Crestview. So their incentives are really good as well. Whereas, Whitworth over in Navarre, they're already very well established. Holiday Builders, they're over there as well. So they're not providing those same incentives, and they're in a higher price point. So Crestview, you're just going to see significantly more incentives on top of already having the best price point. Top that.
I will, AJ. Let's talk about the drive time to some of the other areas, which is our second con of the day. So Crestview is located a little bit further north from our beach town. So for those of you guys that have been following us for a while, awesome. Thank you. For those that haven't, there's a subscribe button that will pop up right quick. But we have a lot of beach towns, and Crestview is on the north side of that. So it's about 30, 45 minutes, maybe 15, depending on how fast you drive, in order to get to it. So in order to get to any of the other cities, you're going to have to make a little bit of a distance. So whether you're getting to Destin, you're getting to Fort Walton, which is directly south. Technically, Niceville is directly south, and then Fort Walton underneath that. You're going to have to do a little bit of drive time. So that also comes with, well, the big con of this whole portion, which is the traffic on Highway 85. So if you are going back into Crestview during standard hours when somebody would be leaving work from 4 to 6 p.m., the traffic is, I'm just going to call it what it is. It's poopy. That is the best word I can describe. It is kind of poopy. Now, it's not in Los Angeles or Chicago poopy, but it is Florida poopy. We don't like sitting around in traffic. It's not super fun for us. So a 30-minute drive can turn into a 45-minute drive or even a little bit more from time to time. So just keep that in mind and plan a little bit of extra time. Most of the time, if you're leaving the city, you're generally fine. It's actually getting back into the city that is normally worse.
I do have to agree with you. I have been stuck on 85 more times than I care to admit since I am Team Pro. That drive north, it sucks just about every time. My daughter goes to stay overnight with her grandma every so often. And I will plan my travel time to go pick her up around Crestview traffic. So it is a legitimate thing, but a lot of times people have the ability to leave a little bit earlier, a little bit later, and facilitate a way to not have to sit in that traffic. So I'm just saying, I know it is a con, but you can get around it.
In fact, it's enough of a con for us that if we are showing property up there and you decide you would like to do, because we are realtors, keep that in mind, all of our information will pop up on the screen. But if you decide you want to do a showing in Crestview from 4 to 6 p.m., I'm not going to be the one doing it for you, most likely, if I can help it anyway, just because it is a little bit painful, unless I can leave up there to go a little bit early and kind of dodge it. I know it's only an extra 10, 15, sometimes up to 30 minutes, but to me, that's a lot of wasted time. I'm not a big fan of sitting in traffic.
Yeah, especially when we can avoid it. But something that you can't necessarily avoid are flood zones, unless we come to our third pro, and that is you move to Crestview, where we have the highest elevation in the area. So if flooding is something that scares you, because a lot of people that are moving to Florida in general are concerned about flooding, rightly so. We're on a peninsula and, waters rise. So Crestview, it's like our little hilltop here in the area. So you will want to look at the various, plots essentially of a subdivision to make sure that you're not in like a basin where if water comes from above, it doesn't pool in your area, because that's something different entirely. But water actually rising from the water level and getting into your home in Crestview, not going to happen.
So sure, you can't get water in your house, but that actually leads us to our next con. You're that much further from getting water around your body. So the beaches are a little bit further away from Crestview than most of the areas in our area. It's always weird when I say that, most of the areas in our area, but you guys get what I mean. So you are going to have to drive approximately 30 to 35 minutes to get to the two closest beaches, which will be Destin and Fort Walton Beach. Now keep in mind, Fort Walton Beach is going to be a little bit less crowded. Destin generally is going to be a little bit more crowded, so you've got to make that decision. And then one of them is going to have a toll involved if you go into Destin. The other one is not. So for those of you guys that like going to the beach and you want to make a day out of it, you really are going to need to make a day out of it, because you're not going to be able to just run back home to grab something you forgot. So make sure all of the floaties are packed up and the children, and bring them all to the beach so you don't have to go back for anybody.
If you guys have questions about any of the information that we are providing you with currently, not just in Crestview, but other areas as well, I'm AJ, and this is Andrew, and we're local real estate professionals with the Emerald Group, and we are super happy to help you.
Even when we're sick.
Literally, even when we're sick. Don't worry, we're going to schedule all our showings and everything via Zoom and using other agents so that we don't get you guys sick. We just get each other sick. We're sick of each other.
Definitely sick of her.
The fourth pro on our list, even though you keep talking about how far away Crestview is from
super
everything,
far.
So far. It's really close to Eglin and 7th Group, like all our military, aside from Hurlburt Field, is going to be super close to Crestview. I get so many clients that are moving to the Crestview area because they are military related. And that drive is super easy. So not only are you in a close area to work, but you've got that great price point, and the prices, not the prices, but the values are going to continue to increase as Crestview keeps on growing, because you did bring up there's not much to do out there, but as they've been building up and creating these brand new subdivisions, again, you got the new builds with the great incentives, those values are going to continue to increase. So if you move here on PCS orders, purchase a brand new build, and then you PCS and then rent that property out, you will already have so much equity in it. And typically you're going to rent out a property for more than what your mortgage payment is. So now you've got someone paying your mortgage and more. You can come back to this area later on whenever you retire. Keep that as a rental empire, buy a multiple of them, have multiple rental incomes, or sell them all off and then buy your own dream home here in the area. There's so much that you can do by investing in this area where you have literally everything working for you right here in Crestview.
Which is funny that you mentioned all the military jobs and stuff that people are going to be doing. They're working at Duke Field or 7th Special Forces or Eglin, because that's probably the only jobs in the household that will happen, because Crestview, unfortunately, does not have a plethora of jobs like a larger city. Now, I know I'm kind of Team Con here, and I'm trying to play the opposite of AJ. It's not as bad as it probably sounds. There are jobs out there. It's not like it's void of them. They do have a low unemployment rate of about 4% right now. So there's not a ton of them out there, but they are out there. And if you're willing to travel a little bit, depending on the type of job that you're doing, you might not have it that bad. If you're working in the service industry, you've got Destin just to the south. Even Niceville's got a bunch of tourist stuff, although they're a little bit more family-friendly style. They do have a few options there that are going to be in that service category. But if you're looking for more of a professional job, you're looking to work in DOD or defense or something like that, you are generally going to have to travel down to Fort Walton Beach or even Niceville for most of those jobs.
Which isn't that far away. And, since COVID, a lot of people are able to work remotely. So if you're able to work remotely, this is a great place to be as well, because you're keeping those costs down while still having great internet. We're not talking about, an area lacking of infrastructure like Freeport, which is, on its way up, and they've got some magnificent homes out there, but they're still struggling a little bit with the infrastructure. Crestview's been here for a minute, so they are fully able to support work from home jobs. You don't necessarily have to, just be working in the service industry and traveling around or going to Eglin or anything like that. Some of the DOD jobs are even remote these days. I got a friend doing that.
And it's kind of nice to be sitting and working remote in your beautiful new build or close to it versus a little hovel that you would have gotten in some of the other areas. I'm just kidding. It's not that bad. But you guys get my point. I'm Team Con. Help me out.
All right, so speaking of, all the different jobs and such, our fifth pro of moving to Crestview is we do get a lot of military members that move to this area. So there's a strong sense of community because we'll get a lot of active duty military that come here and then they'll come back. So you've got the active duty, the, lower enlisted, and then the retirees that have come back. So there's a very solid community of patriots in the area, which helps, create that tight-knit community, especially so close to the base. You're going to have plenty of DOD workers and, all various forms of military, whether active, reserve, retired, just out, whatever. So it's a very, it just feels good. We're both veterans, and so we like that kind of stuff. If you're not a veteran and don't appreciate being around veterans, then you're not going to want to live in Crestview.
Our next con for today is, I'm kind of stretching on this one, but I'm going to try. It's the school system. So Crestview has schools. They do rank okay, but I would call them average. They generally rank just above the 50th percentile. So they're above most, but they're definitely nothing highly, highly rated. So if you're looking for something for your little ones to really make sure they're getting the best education early on before they go on to some of the more advanced schools and things like that, unfortunately, Crestview doesn't really have it. Now, their schools are good. It's just, well, their schools are average. I guess that's where I'd kind of put it. We weren't able to find anything, and I've never gone to school up there personally, and I don't think any of our agents have children up there either.
No.
So, we don't really know firsthand. We're really kind of going off of some of the other sites like niche.com and Great School Rating and stuff like that. But for the most part, they sounded perfectly on par, which I guess isn't a bad thing, but I mean, it is a bad thing because I'm Team Con. It's the worst thing ever.
The worst thing ever. They're not amazing. Got it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you something that is amazing is no state income tax.
Okay, that's pretty good.
That's pretty solid.
That's pretty good.
So if you're a dual income house currently coming from a different state that does charge a state income tax, then if you want to keep your children out of the school system because you do want something amazing for them, maybe one of you could homeschool because now you can afford it because the other one will continue to make significantly more by default because you're not spending as much in taxes.
Yep, all true things. And the homeschooling section in our area seems to be fairly strong. That is something that I noticed, which is not something we planned on, but very kind of cool. But there is a pretty big con here, and that's public transportation. Crestview is a little bit of a smaller area. It's kind of like it's not rural anymore. It's obviously more of a suburb, but they have a rural area. But just because of the population itself, and this is kind of a curse of our entire area, to be honest, we don't have a lot of public transportation here, and Crestview is no different. So if you love just hopping around on the bus and riding around town, I'm sorry you can't do that. You're going to have to get in a car. So sorry. But I don't think I know anybody that doesn't have their own transportation. And I don't think that's a necessity of the area. I just don't think, it's just too spread out. It doesn't really make sense. So no public transportation. You're welcome. You're going to have to take Ubers and Lyfts or get your own vehicle or jaywalk.
Or jaywalk. Yeah, if you're coming from another area like DC, New York, where you were able to rely on public transportation, you were likely not that far from wherever you had to go. But Crestview is a little bit more spread out. I will agree with you. But I do want to go back to the homeschool thing that you were talking about. And it wasn't planned. So a little bonus for you guys.
Ooh, bonus.
There is
I love bonuses.
Right? Me too. Speaking of which.
We don't have the money right now.
Homeschooling in our area is very popular, very common. We have so many options for our homeschoolers. You have the ability in Florida to homeschool just on your own. You can get, it's super easy to file with an umbrella school and then do whatever you want. And you can track everything if you want to. You don't even have to. Or you can file to do it from home under the, it's like Florida Virtual. And so then you actually have assistants to help you with teaching your child, but you're still able to control that environment if there are specific things that you're trying to avoid. Maybe your child has experienced some form of bullying or something in the past, and they've got some sort of, traumatic response to it that they're having a hard time recovering from. This is an option for you to keep them within the safe confines of your home, but still receive that great education. There are also all kinds of co-ops here with homeschoolers and lots of various extracurriculars. We have dance and gymnastics and cheers, all kinds of things that you can still enroll your child in to get that social interaction and still participate in something, even compete if you wanted to. So just there's sometimes people who aren't familiar with the homeschooling system, they get, really intimidated. But here we have all kinds of resources to facilitate you raising and teaching your child the way that you want to. Thank you, Florida.
In fact, we do have several of our agents homeschooling people as we sit right now. So what I'm going to do is I'll make sure that there are some links to some of our Facebook groups down below. One of those is a homeschool group. We also have a military life on the Emerald Coast, and there's one more. It's escaping me right now, but we'll throw them all in the comments, or not the comments, the remarks section on the video. So if you guys wanted to go there and see a little bit more about the area, what we're doing, and if, of course, you're interested in homeschooling, you'll have that there. That has a ton of good information. And, of course, you can always go in there and ask anything else that you might not know.
We have been getting so many calls, texts, and emails from you guys. We absolutely love it, and we love your comments. So if you're still with us, make make sure that you've hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up so that we know that we're providing some kind of value here and other people know it too. And we will see y'all at the next one. Bye, y'all.